Okay, so actually, this was kind of cool, interesting in a way you might, uh, learn something from. Is I asked this question yesterday of Google AI, and it didn't. You usually have to fight with it a little while to get it to like start, you know, getting straight with me. It tried to be political correct. It wants to make sure it doesn't do any fake news. It's programmed, against the whole fake news movement, and which is like, right, you can only report fake news because it's like whatever they say is news, even if it's bullshit. And if you say something else, it's fake news. So they got the AI programmed to say what they're saying, whether it's bullshit or not. And this one, it cut right to the damn question. And then and other times it might say, because this is a Black Lives Matter question, it might say, oh, if you find yourself increasingly obsessed with Black Lives Matter or other issues, if you think that you need to know this to save the world, then you should get help, and it'll give you a helpline to call and shit. Like when you're just asking normal questions, it'll turn into a therapist. It'll read between the lines. You've obviously been through terrible, upsetting, stressful, and it's like, dude, I'm just asking you a question. It's like there's nothing there, and then it'll go, oh, I apologize. You're perfectly justified to call me out on that, but then it'll go back to political correctness, and then. But if you ask it the right questions, it'll be like, oh boy, it's like it's got a split personality, and it's like, oh boy, I'm glad you got that boring guy out of here. Now we can talk some good shit. So anyway, here is my question. Is it fair to say that when Black Lives Matter began in Baltimore, that the kids be, the kids behind it, the the kids were organically behind it? The kids who were organic, oh man, fuck, okay. The kids who were organically behind it weren't so much against cops in their neighborhoods as non-criminal blacks always getting stopped by police, while known gang members who cops worked with to keep the peace so there's no turf wars were left alone. And I asked it that because, like, when the first riots they weren't really too much of a riot. They were kids storming through the streets, jumping up and down on cars and raising all kinds of hell, like, way back in the day, and or 2015, I guess, and my wife had cancer, and we were in Baltimore at the John Hopkins, staying in a hotel, like the second night. So you're wondering, like, are they going to like burn the city down tonight? It's like, but nothing happened. And then I go home and watch, and it's like, they're not rioting, and they look like good kids. They look like gangsters, and look like rather, it's like, so what gives? And then that's like before it became Black Lives Matter, and then it becomes Black Lives Matter, and I'm following the story because I was there, and I'm actually talking to the people on Facebook because I was there. I could say I was there. I kind of had a way to insert myself into the conversation and maybe get some cool feedback. And I did from the guy who started the whole thing. And I think his name was Sean. And so the whole point was that it was because, well, see, he couldn't see. That's the problem. They can't say when you're a kid growing up trying to get an education to get out of the hood, the insanity of the hood, and you're trying to do all the right stuff and not get in trouble and get your record all screwed. You're trying to stay focused But then you have to dress hood and you got to talk hood or you'll get beat up all the time. So, but then the cops are always stopping you because you're dressed and talk hood, you know, and then, but they leave the real gangsters alone because they have deals. They have turf war deals where like this crew runs this neighborhood, this crew runs that neighborhood, and then there's like a hierarchy underworld that runs all, you know, that sits above all the hoods, and it's like if the cops just constantly chase them all around, then they you know, every time they arrest a crew, then there's a war between the, you know, the crew is like it had 100 guys, now it's got 50, and now the crew that had 75 guys is going to kill 25 of the 50 and take over the hood, and it's like, so there's just always war, and it's like, well, if the police support the particular factions, you know, they make deals or they let them work out their own deals and say you decide who controls what, and then we'll keep the peace between you. It's like, you know, if somebody starts coming up being a problem for you, you let us know and we'll tamp that shit down. We'll keep the, you know, and it's less violence. It's less the hood is less violent and it's more stable, you know. It's saying, look, you know, the organized crime is going to happen. This is the better model, you know, the more that we can use. So they leave the gangsters alone and they go around, but they go around harass. They got to make it look like they're doing something, so they're going around harassing all the good kids who were trying to get the hell out of there. But when you're a kid like that, you can't say you're stuck between the cops and the gangsters. And you can't say, go public and say, we're prisoners in here of the cops and the gangsters. And then when you go home that night, you know, like, pow, pow, you know, oh, all these bullets flying through the house just struck my little sister. I wonder if that had anything to do with me. So they're raising hell without really saying, and then they come up with Black Lives Matter, and, you know, they would say, well, we're not against the cops, we're against the cops just, you know, picking on us. We're the good kid. We're not criminals just because we dress this way, blah, blah, blah. But they can't finish the sentence. And so I'm talking to him to see if that's what it is, and he's not saying yes, but he just saying, I can't, you know, I appreciate what you're saying, but I can't, you know, I can't go there, you know. Next thing you know, fucking Black Lives Matter turns into like anti-cops, it's this race. It turns into something like it was, and it's turned into it by liberals and white liberals, educated liberals, Antifa whites, you know, like they hijacked the movement and turned it into this cops versus. They never told the goddamn real reason why Black Lives Matter became Black Lives Matter. They never addressed the core of the problem, because you got all the politicians, you got the black market, like the whole thing, and then who's the customers of the black market? It's like, you know, where do you go when you want to buy a little kid to have sex with, and you're a politician and you don't want to get caught, you know? It's like, well, you go to the underworld that you know, you've got agreements with, and everybody's hunky-dory, everybody's in the same club, and, you know, they get you children as long as you let them, you know, let the gang sling crack on the corner and fentanyl and all that. You know, it's like this cozy little romance, inner city corrupt governments, cops, and organized crime, but they go around beating up on the good kids, and then they send the good kids to prison for nothing, and then they get groomed into becoming future gangsters. And I mean, it's like this whole pipeline. What do they call it? The prison pipeline and all that. But okay, end the video.